To factorize this, first thing guys, follow the steps I gave you earlier on. Remember the first step I said you need to write your equation in standard form. So I will simply take that 4x to the left hand side and make sure that I'm left with a 0 on the right hand side. So on the left hand side I will have x squared minus 4x is equal to 0. Remember this 4x, when you transpose it to the left hand side, its sign will change. At the moment the sign of 4x is positive. Once you have transposed it, the sign will change from positive to negative. Now this is a quadratic equation, but how do you factorize this? You will need to take out a common factor. What is your common factor? Your common factor will be x, so take out x as a common factor. Now you're left with that. From here guys, it's quite easy. It's basically what we have done this far. You will simply take that x equated to 0 and take x minus 4 equated to 0. Now the first one is pretty straightforward because x is equal to 0, but in the second factor you have a linear equation. You have to transpose that minus 4 to the right hand side and x will be equal to 4. What about here guys? You'll realize that the equation already is written in standard form. So what you need to do here guys is to get rid of that negative. First of all guys, remember before you even try to do any type of factorization, you need to start with the mother of all factorizations, which is simply taking out a common factor. First check if there's a common factor. In this case you realize that we don't have a common factor, so you will be you have no other option but to multiply everything by negative. When you multiply everything by negative, that's what you will be left with. You will be left with 3x squared minus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. Now this is a simple quadratic. It's actually a complex quadratic equation. So basically you need to choose your factors correctly so that you can factorize the right way. Okay, firstly I'm going to start with the factors of 3. Factors of 3 is simply 3 and 1, and the factors of 8 guys, it's 2 and 4. All right, now what you need to do guys is simply try to work out a method in such a way that when you multiply, remember with a quadratic equation guys, in this case you'll have to have 2 brackets. All right, and in each bracket obviously you'll have a binomial, and in that binomial guys, make sure that when you multiply the inner and the outer and add them, they need to give you a middle term, which is minus 2x. So basically I have done that for you guys, and this is what I have. Okay, if I multiply negative 2 with 3x, I will get negative 6. If I multiply x with 4, I will get positive 4. Negative 6 minus 4 will give me that negative 2, which I have there as a middle term. Okay, please do the errors that I showed you guys under factorization of trinomials as to how you have to do this. It's simply under factorization of trinomials. Please go back to those notes. Now from this step guys, we'll simply take each factor and equate it to 0, and I'll have x minus 2 is equals to 0 and 3x plus 4 is equals to 0. Thereafter guys, you will simply transpose 2 in the first factor, and when you transpose 2 to the right hand side, it will give you x is equals to 2. But in the second factor, when you transpose 4, it will give you negative 4, and you'll have to divide by 3. Hence our solution here is x is equals to minus 4 over 3. Alright, let's get to this example here guys. I have 2 factors on the left hand side, but there's a problem guys. Can I just take those factors and equate them to 0? Now this is the mistake that I have encountered with different grades, grade 10 and 11 guys. At this step, when you are given an equation like this, people tend to take each factor and equate it to 24. Guys, you can't do that. You can only equate it to 0. okay? So basically in this example here, guys, you need to first simplify, multiply out that bracket so that you can be able to take that 24 to the left hand side, okay? So you're gonna first start by multiplying the bracket out, okay? Now please remember this, guys. I'm gonna say what I've said again, but slowly this time, okay? If we were given vectors like this, if we were given factors like this, I just want you guys to compare this equation. We did this in the previous video and the equation that I'm going to do right now. If we were given factors like this, I was going to take each factor and equate it to 0 and don't solve for x. Because on the right hand side, I have 0. There is 0 there. All right? However, I can't do that in this example because on the right hand side, I don't have 0, I have 24. I cannot do that, okay? Now, all I need to do here, guys, and please replay the previous video and you'll understand. I did explain this and I did tell you what students normally do. One mistake that you all make. Please don't make it in this case, guys. Firstly, I'm going to get rid of brackets, okay? Now, to get rid of that brackets, guys, you just multiply out using FOIL. You all know how to use FOIL. I'm sure of that. Now from this step, we can now start transposing 24, take it to the left hand side. 24 and 21, you will add them because both of them are negative and this is what you will get. At this step, guys, that's when you can start with factorization. Once your equation is equals to 0 and now you have a simple trinomial, guys, just factorize that. It's quite easy to factorize and this is what you're gonna get. Take each factor and equate it to 0 and just solve for x. Simple, just like that, guys. Just remember, if you have any other variable or constant on the right hand side and you have two factors that are multiplied on the left hand side, get rid of those brackets by multiplying out and then transpose. However, if it was 0, it was going to be simple because if it was 0 over there, we were going to take each factor and equate it to 0, guys. Please, normally, guys, it's easy for you to understand mistakes and it's difficult for you to understand what is right. Now, I just told you about the mistake. I expect you not to make that mistake. Do not learn that mistake. Learn this method that I've just taught you right now. Now, if I was to factorize this, obviously I have 0, guys. I don't need to transpose anything. On the left hand side, I have 0, so I need to jump straight into factorization. Remember, guys, I told you the mother of all factorizations is to check if you have a common factor. And you'll realize that we do have a common factor here, and our common factor is x, so take it out and fully factorize. You'll have x outside, but inside the bracket, you still have a trinomial, guys. It's a simple trinomial. So all you had to do, guys, is to factorize that simple trinomial. Your factors will be x minus 2 and x plus 1. We have these three factors. When multiplied, they will give us 0. So one of those factors has to be equal to 0. That's why we're going to take each factor and equate it to 0. The second factor, which is x minus 2, is a linear equation. The third factor, which is x plus 1, is also a linear equation. In the second factor, we're going to transpose 2 to the right hand side. It will be positive. When we transpose 1 in the third factor to the right hand side, it will be negative, and this is what we will get. All right, it's time for exercises. Please do this. And this